When I started planning this video a few days ago, I was intending to open with something along the lines of, this is just a drama video with no useful information. If you don't care about BDO drama, you may want to move along. But this whole incident has now sort of transcended what happened with Blade Boques and provided us instead with some troubling insight into Kakao's competence as a publisher. This isn't the first time that Kakao has demonstrated a lack of knowledge about the game, from strange answers on support tickets to clearly incorrect and unchecked patch notes. They certainly had their share of embarrassments already, but nothing quite on the level of what we've seen unfold over the last few days. So let's go over the last few days and talk about exactly what happened. The catalyst, for those of you who are missing the context here, is a post on the BDO subreddit titled "Working as Intended" by Devok1 early in the morning of July 11th. And in the post you can see how Blade apparently has two workers on Ancient Stone Chamber, something that is not possible through normal gameplay. There's only one node at the chamber, the excavation node, and you can see two workers working it here. So basically caught red-handed here using apparently a bug in the game. In addition to this screenshot, there's also a clip where he goes through his entire worker empire. And we see some things in addition to the double workers that are very strange. Let's just go through this real quick. So there's a green worker there on Lynch Farm Ruins, another one on Costa Farm. And then this one here really stood out to me, a level 30 human worker on Southern Ciénaga. So the idea that someone like Blade would have green workers at all is very strange, especially level 30 unpromoted ones. But especially the idea of a green worker on Southern Ciénaga. I remember seeing an artisan worker on Southern Ciénaga way back in the day in another one of Blade's videos. And I went ahead and dug that up for you guys because I knew I remembered seeing this. And sure enough, in one of his older videos where he talks about node income, you see an artisan goblin on Southern Ciénaga. So how did he go from having an artisan goblin on this node to having a level 30 unpromoted green worker? It's just such a strange series of events. And so I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, well, there's got to be another explanation here. There's no way Blade is this bad at managing his workers, but the only two explanations available are either he really is that bad at managing workers, or what if there's some additional reason why these workers can't be promoted? Now, Blade's explanation for this is that they were extra workers from the server merge last year, but come on, why would any decent player still have so many useless, easily replaced workers from 9 months ago, regardless of where they originally came from? We know for a fact that Blade was banned for this exploit once before back in May, but Kakao reversed the bans with this statement from PM Juska.
After additional data sources were collected with the assistance of the developers, our team was able to refine initial data utilized in the analysis and investigation for potential participants in the node and worker exploit issue. As a result of this new information, we were able to identify that regrettably some false positives did make it into the initial ban wave. This issue has since been corrected and the affected parties have had access to our services restored. We sincerely apologize for any inconveniences this may have caused. And thank you for your patience while we review each case.
And the part they left out, as far as we can tell, is that apparently everybody who was caught in this ban wave had their service restored. I'm not aware of a single person who actually got in trouble back in May, but I do know many people, Blade included, who were unbanned. It seems like Kakao realized there were some false positives and decided better for the guilty to go free than for the innocent to go punished. Regardless, it seemed very unlikely at best that Blade, someone who practically plays this game for a living, would not notice that he had two workers on the same node for over 1,000 work cycles, something like 3 to 4 months of continuous, uninterrupted workloads for these two workers, especially after being banned for this exploit once before. We're basically left with two explanations. A, even after being banned for exploiting nodes, he still didn't even bother to check his node empire after getting back into the game. Or B, he went through and cleaned up his entire worker empire, but just missed this one node in the process. Additionally, I got a very bizarre correspondence from Blade in response to calling him out on stream, in which he claimed that he now had learned how the bug worked and that it wasn't related to having unpromoted workers. Apparently, this bug occurred when you sent a worker to a node until they ran out of stamina, and then sent a different worker to the same node until it also ran out of stamina, and then both workers sitting at 0 stamina, next time you fed and refreshed, would simultaneously go back to work. This immediately raised 2 red flags. First of all, we just established that both of these workers had been on the node non-stop without running out of stamina for 3 to 4 months straight. So I'm supposed to believe that he had an artisan human run out of stamina on Ancient Stone Chamber, something that takes about 50 hours of neglect to occur, followed by having a skilled human also run out of stamina on Ancient Stone Chamber, something that would take another 50 hours of neglect to occur, only to immediately be followed by 4 months straight in which neither of these workers ever ran out of stamina again. It just wasn't even remotely good enough of an explanation, especially when he came right out and said that the reason he was offering me this explanation is so that I would know the bug wasn't related to having unpromoted workers, which is one of the most suspicious things that we had spotted on his account so far. So at this point, I became even more convinced that unpromoted workers were part of the bug, and that Blade was just trying to cover his tracks. By now, there had been a few good theories about how to set something like this up, and all of them involved a certain amount of setup that would be difficult to repeat, which explained why you would hold on to subpar workers rather than going through the trouble of promoting them and then setting up the glitch all over again. Besides, there was another exploit in which you could adjust the clock on your PC to speed up your workers. Yes, I'm serious, that really was a bug in the game. So perhaps by combining these 2 exploits, it didn't matter if the workers were from a lower tier. Anyways, July 12th, patch day comes and goes with the same continuing drama, and then on July 13th, CM Yukamura makes a post on the forums saying that the patch which supposedly corrected this bug 2 months ago was not properly applied, including a failure to reset the workers involved. This again struck me as a possible explanation for using green and blue workers. If the bug was fixed, but the workers were not reset, maybe Blade didn't have a choice of which workers to use. If he stopped them to promote them, their repeat action would be changed, and they would no longer be grandfathered into a bug state, which was no longer possible. But at this point, we also started to see some bizarre action on the part of Kakao. They decided to permanently ban only 3 people, while handing a slap on the wrist punishment of only 72 hours to the other 40 users involved, including Blade. This is quite a weak response to people who are purposely exploiting the game, and sends a clear message to the general player base that exploiting in BDO is okay as long as you don't get caught with extremely high value gains, whatever that means. It just doesn't make sense. This sort of exploit is akin to duping, and duping is one of the worst offenses a player can commit in an MMORPG. Surely there's no gray area here. If they did it on purpose, they deserve a permanent ban. If they did it on accident, they should not be punished at all. There's just no room for a 72-hour punishment for this sort of offense. Anyone who plays the game should be able to tell the difference when looking at an account's logs, but we'll come back to that a little bit later. I sent out a tweet expressing my disappointment with the 72-hour bans, and got a response the next day on July 14th in the form of a direct message from the official NAEU BDO Twitter. The important part here is the second paragraph, where he says,
"After careful investigation of all the accounts involved, our customer support concluded the players gained resources and items by using game mechanics in an unintended way. This could not have been performed accidentally, and I'd like to stress that their investigation was extremely thorough."
So, boom, there it is. Case closed, it's over, Blade's a cheater, they're all cheaters. Get your pitchforks, except you're actually not going to believe what happens next. July 15th, a new wave of emails are sent out to everyone who got banned. These emails contain the same copy-paste that I received in DMs the day before about how this could not possibly have been done on accident, with an additional line at the bottom tallying the exact amount of silver that was removed from the account. It's unclear how they came up with these numbers, but presumably they're just converting whatever materials were gained unfairly into the current market value, and then removing that market value from the account. The idea that someone would intentionally exploit the worker system and only get 8.5 million is very strange. Most veteran players make more than that from their Node Empire in a single day, yet after months of purposely cheating, this person only came away with 8.5 million? And then Drimlock hits me with this one on Twitter. 238k. This player was banned for 72 hours and had 238k removed from their account. That's pennies. That's nothing. If I had an item in my inventory worth 238k, I probably wouldn't even bother to vendor it. I would just trash it. Banning someone for intentionally exploiting for 238k is like arresting someone for robbery because they picked up a quarter that fell out of someone's pocket. Does anyone who works for this publisher actually play the game? Some poor Steam player probably glitched out a second naive worker on the Olive, Nold, and Olvio for 2 weeks, and Kakao is over here saying,
"Nope, this could not possibly have been an accident, and we'd like to stress that our investigation was super duper extremely thorough."
I don't even know what else to say about this. I've spent a fair amount of time complaining about publishers in the past, but at least there's some greed motivating their terrible decisions. There's nothing that can possibly explain this course of action besides complete incompetence on behalf of the entire team that took part in this investigation. Wow. Anyways, in regards to Blade, I did ask him if I could post his support email in this video, so here it is. As you can see, about 51 million was removed from his account. This seems a bit high even for 1,000 cycles of Ancient Stone Chamber, but if they counted both of his workers on the chamber, then the value is close enough to fit as far as I can tell. So it seems unlikely at this point that Blade had 2 workers on anything other than this one particular node. Now, whether he really did risk his account just for Ancient Stone Chamber, or whether this was an accident that he somehow managed to miss for 4 months, both explanations still sound ridiculous to me, but if Ancient Stone Chamber was something he left running on purpose, it doesn't really make sense for him to just be casually opening his worker window on stream. Remember, the previous theory here was that Blade cleaned up his other nodes off stream and just forgot about Ancient Stone Chamber, and that's how he was caught. But now we know that Ancient Stone Chamber was probably the only node that he exploited, so this explanation no longer really makes sense. I'm inclined to think that he is genuinely innocent, just very bad with his workers and extremely unlucky with how this all played out. I think the bigger takeaway here, and something that should really bother anyone who cares about this game, is how bad of a job Kakao has done with handling this whole thing. We're now 100% certain that they banned innocent players while at the same time confidently asserting that there is no way that these people could have used the glitch on accident, which is even more messed up when you think about the fact that by their own admission, this is not the first time that they have banned innocent players. I'm not really sure where to go from here. Given the touchy latter half of the DM that I was sent earlier in the video, I imagine that any critical feedback posted on their forums will be deleted. I encourage you guys to tweet at BDO News asking for this issue to be revisited, and I encourage anyone who is falsely banned to demand that your ticket be elevated to someone higher up in the company. I know that the 72-hour bans will have expired by now, but I still think it's worth appealing in order to get the mark removed from your accounts and to hopefully call attention to someone higher up in the company that there are some major improvements that need to be made with the way these issues are handled. If there's anything I can do as someone with an audience to help you in these endeavors, please let me know. You guys know how much I love this game. I plan on continuing to play it for a long time. So seeing the game's mismanagement from a publisher who is either incompetent or apathetic isn't gonna fly. Don't let this one blow over. As a community, this is the time to come together and hold Kakao responsible until we see some honest improvement. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.